but there's bacteria that are all around us that are normally, natural, indigenous bacteria that are in the air and everywhere that will set up shop in there. When they find ammonia, they'll start growing because that's their favorite food. And what they turn ammonia into is nitrites. And then there's another bacteria that sets up after there's a bunch of nitrites in your system, and it turns those nitrites into nitrates. And the nitrates are the favorite food of your plants. So it's sort of a two-stage bacterial process. And the reason you kind of have to know all of that, which is, that's a really short version of that concept, is that the grow beds, being a bacterial colony, they're sensitive to chemicals. They're sensitive to if you don't flood them for 2 weeks and they just dry out, you're going to kill a lot of your bacteria. Those bacteria, they sort of have they have requirements, and those guys are actually what's making this whole system work. They're the ones that are converting the waste into the nutrients that the plants will remove.
Do you charge that with bacteria to start with?
Yes, that's a great question. When we boot up this system, it's about ready right now, but when we boot it up, I'll bring up as much water as I can, probably a 55-gallon drum, from the nastiest part of the oldest aquaponics system I've got. Okay, and that goes in here, and what that does, I pour it right into this gravel bed here. First, I get rid of all your chloramines because your bacteria are going to get killed by chloramine. So you flood this with a bacterial starter colony. It's sort of like sourdough, and so you're inoculating it with bacteria from another system. Now this system is going to develop its own bacterial colony, which may be different from the one that I pour in there, because it has different gravel, it has different water, it has different sunlight. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different bacteria that live in these systems, and this one will mature into its own little ecosystem, and it'll be a little different from every other one because of the water and the gravel and all the variables that are there that the bacteria use. But there's the thing to know is that there's all this symbiotic relationship between the bacteria in the system. So first you'll get the ones that want ammonia, and they'll set up and they'll grow and they'll populate, and then their byproducts will cause another bacteria to grow and populate, and then their byproducts will cause another bacteria to grow and populate. So after a while you get a mature system, but it takes time. You can't just, it's not like hydroponics where they're just growing with a chemical nutrient solution. They pour in the solution and then bam, they're off, right? That's why a lot of these commercial growers are using hydroponics, because it's very it's a quick turnaround. When they start it up, it's ready to go. With these systems, it takes a while for it to mature, and people get impatient sometimes and they put too many fish in, and that causes problems because you have to be patient and let the bacteria grow into the ecosystem and create these new symbiotic, these new layers of more bacteria, and once those guys are all going, then it all becomes happy and it really starts working.
Yeah.
That can take 2 months.
Wow.
It really depends on your starter colony.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get a really good starter colony in there, I think you can get it going in a month, but generally it takes
4 weeks.
They'll say 2 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Is it temperature controlled?
Well, it's probably, a lot of those bacteria are
Colder,
temperature. Yep.
Is that what the test kits are for? Do they have test kits for that? Or
For the bacteria?
to tell you when it's ready, or you just
Nah, you just
try
kind
it?
of start it. Yeah. I mean, you can put plants in right away. You can even put in a little organic fertilizer just to kick it off. But you don't want to start putting a whole lot of fish in here, because if you put in a bunch of fish, then you can get an ammonia overload or a nitrite spike, and then you can basically set yourself back to where you have to start over because you jumped the gun.
So plants will start working right away, but 2 to 6 months for the fish
To have a
harvest?
full contingent of fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
About how much would you start both fish and plants on this system right here? How would you start it off?
Well, we can go ahead and plant it all out with plants. We'll put a little bit of organic fertilizer in it. We'll put in a few fish, like, I don't know, maybe a dozen fish, and then that's it. And then we'll let that ride for a couple of months. And then after that, then we can start loading it up with more fish.
With the normal cost of the totes, how much would this system cost?
If you do
Someone
it
to put
yourself, just
together?
the materials.
Yeah.
Let's see. The pump is about 60. The plumbing's probably 40 or 50 bucks. So let's say that's 100. And then you got 4 totes, which are about 100 bucks each. So 500 bucks, somewhere around there.
Good price.
Dave, can a system become contaminated with harmful bacteria?
No.
Not unless it goes anaerobic.
Good question. The question is, can harmful bacteria inhabit the system? Yes, they can get in there, but if you have a proper bacterial colony of, your normal indigenous, what we call beneficial bacteria, they will outcompete the harmful bacteria.
How are you
The
going to
bacteria
know?
the bacteria that we are concerned about, the E. coli and things like that, they have specific needs of their environment, like inside of a warm-blooded animal. Beam you up.
That's my nephew.
He's calling bullshit on me or something. But E. coli has requirements. I mean, it has to be basically within. It has to have.
Well,
there are certain,
in the news,
I don't want to downplay the
in the news, there's a
possibility.
lot of, talk about produce having E. coli.
Right.
In
Yep.
Europe, people died of bean sprouts grown in a similar way.
Yep. Right.
E. coli contamination.
If you fertilized it with cow manure and you had that going on in there, yeah, I would say so. I mean, you probably could have that. But as far as I know, from what I've read, E. coli really cannot exist in these systems because the conditions aren't correct.
Is there a way to test
But
it?
I'm not a microbiologist, so don't take that as a
You're doing
semi-informed opinion. Put it that way. But I don't want to downplay the issue. I think that's a good question. That's a good question.
There's a big write-up on it on Friendly Aquaponics site
Right.
about the.
Yeah, he drinks the water out of his system, so I don't know.
He does.
He's hardcore. Yeah, anybody's more hardcore than that. I don't know who it is. All right. Any other questions on this system as it's set up?
Yeah, Dave, do you have to put anything to keep the fish from jumping out?
Excellent
The raft,
question.
the raft does a
Excellent.
good job, but
I'm glad you guys are here. Yeah, one of the main things you're going to have with tilapia especially is jumping out. They I don't know why they do it, but they do it. And so what you do is you put a netting over the top of this. What that also does is it keeps raccoons out of your system. And raccoons love to go fishing, and they're very good at it. Don't ask me how I know that. So putting a net over the top of this is a really good idea. You just kind of zip tie it onto here, and then you have a net that you can throw the fish food through, and that keeps them from escaping and from being escaped.
Do you ever have to clean these tanks?
These tanks, clean them? No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, when you have a proper stocking in there, they'll keep it stirred up enough in there because